My name is Michael Dana. In 2008, I was diagnosed with a rare brain cancer, and after 6 years, I was cancer-free. But the ordeal left me changed, with a different outlook on life and a new sense of priorities. While still recovering, I earned a degree in economics from UNC Chapel Hill. My studies taught me to analyze data and open my mind to see things differently. I also started formal training in the martial arts to better defend myself and use it as a means of extreme physical therapy. Since then, I've obtained black belts in 3 martial arts. I own and run a martial arts school and have logged over 51 teaching hours. To my friends and family, I'm a simple business owner. But to the martial arts world, I'm something else. I am Sifu Mike, and this is Dragon Theory.
Hi guys, how's it going? So this particular video is going to talk about another reason why people teach, and if you've seen my previous episode, then I'll talk about the main reason why people teach in that episode, and that's more related to like starting a business in a whole martial arts school. This is going to be a little bit more on a smaller scale as far as the assistant instructors are concerned, or the other instructors there that aren't the main instructors. Alright, so if that doesn't apply to you, fine, watch this video anyway so you can like learn to see it, right? You can't accurately defend against something if you don't know what that something is. Alright, so definitely make sure to watch the entirety of this video. I try to be funny and stuff like that, but whatever, man, try to be knowledgeable regardless. So anyways, jumping right into this, one of the reasons why people teach is very simple. They're told to. Alright, it is built into a lot of martial arts that you have to teach martial art to better understand the techniques and stuff that you're doing. And that is totally true. Not discounting that at all. Alright? Just saying that in my experience, and I've taught a lot, most of the people aren't actually taught how to teach, and they're not getting out of that experience what it is that you're trying to get out of it. Alright? What are you trying to explain? How are you trying to get that extra understanding of the technique? So the idea being is that you have a technique. When you go to communicate that to somebody else, right, you have to break it down and put it in terms that they best understand it to make them the best thing possible, right? A lot of times though, people are not capable of doing that kind of analysis with the technique that they're teaching, especially since the technique is most of the time really basic, right? So they don't really know all the intricacies of that because it's something basic. On the surface, it looks very simple, right? So they're not as efficient with the whole teaching, and they're not going to get out of that, right? And then the thing is, since they're basically trial and error, the whole thing, their students become their guinea pigs, right? What I kind of liken it to, because a lot of martial arts, like I said before in previous videos, watch all my videos, that martial arts is set up like an academic college, right? So we got a textbook, okay? Think about it in this terms. Who best is going to teach you like the subject within that textbook, alright? Is it going to be the person who is only a couple chapters ahead of you, or the person who's read the entire book, or the person that wrote the book, alright? You can have all of that in one particular school, right? You can have a person who is still learning how to be a black belt. You can have black belts, that's just the basics of the martial art, and then you can actually have the founder of the martial art in that school, right? That's something that totally happens, right? So the person that is going to be the best at teaching another person how to do a technique probably is going to be the guy who like invented the entire martial art that you're working on, or the person who has the basics of the whole thing because he knows where you're going, right? It's very, very difficult to lead someone to a destination that you've never been before, right? But that happens all the time, and it happens because they are told to do so, right? Again, it's built in to a lot of the martial arts, right? So a lot of people, they're told, hey, take this, do this, or just told to teach beginners, which is amazing to me because really the more complicated advanced stuff is just like advanced, more complicated versions of the basics, right? And so that's like the most important thing. Even if you're a black belt, second degree, third degree, whatever like that, you can never have enough of the basics. You can always get better at the basics. And so why would you ever want to leave that to someone who is still learning the basics of the martial art, right? They're having to teach the basics to them. It's just, it baffles me that you have something that is very vitally important and not focused on at all. And it's very unfortunate. Like I said, you guys, if you're training, could be a whole lot better, right? And there's some people who do this, but a lot of people don't, and they're just kind of going through that, because the thing is, this is very true in martial arts, and it's kind of true in a lot of things. You don't have to be the best at something, right? You don't even have to be good at it. You just have to be better than the other person, okay? Keep that in mind. I'm going to say it again. You don't have to be the best or even be good at something. You just have to be better than your competition, right? So if I'm over here knowing everything that I need to do in a particular situation, and I know everything that you can do, and if what you can do is nothing, all right, then I have an advantage over you, all right? Know yourself, know the enemy, winning as a result, all right? That is the art of war, man. That is like built in. Knowledge is power, power is control, and the easiest way to keep control over somebody is to keep them ignorant. So if they start off ignorant and you keep them that way, then yeah, you know, you're always going to prevail. You're always going to win in, you know, if you do lots of sparring, your randor, your free practice, or, you know, those kind of things. So something to keep in mind, that somebody's best interest may not be you, but them, all right? And so that's a thing you need to keep with the instructor in mind, right? And who's teaching them what they're teaching, because if they're a beginner, right, then they haven't really done that much teaching. They're still learning. They're still doing the sparring and stuff like that. They still want to be on top. So they don't really have the most incentive to make you better than them, right? So again, something to keep in mind as far as assistant instructors go, right? Also, they may not be the most experienced when it comes to teaching, because again, they're told to do it. They're not taught to do it, right? They've never really done it before. They're simply told to do it, so they're not really experienced in doing the skill that they're told to do, right? Most skill acquisition requires a good amount of practice, good amount of repetition, and maintenance requires the same thing. Repetition, practice. I mean, that's the foundation of most martial arts, is that muscle memory, which is gotten by repetition, which means doing it a lot. So it's like really any skill, right? Whatever it is, you need to do it a whole lot to be good at it, right? And when you're good at something, you enjoy doing that thing more, right? And so you have people who are not doing it as much, or haven't had a chance to do it as much, and they're trying to do that while they're trying to learn the basics of martial arts. They're doing two things at once, and a lot of studies have shown that humans just are not good at doing two things at the same time. They're good at remembering where they left off with the previous one, and then going back and forth, or just going fast between the two or the three or however many things they are juggling at the same time. But they're not good at doing two specific things at the exact same time, right? So it's a slight difference between like knowledgeable gap kind of deal. So that might be a separate video. I'll talk about that whole thing. I'm talking about teaching right now. And so you have that lack of experience. And when you think about experience versus knowledge, and knowledge can be like, you can get that from a lot of things. Experience is knowledge, but it is a specific type of knowledge. It's first-hand knowledge, all right? First-hand knowledge. They experience that, so now they have the knowledge of that particular situation or of that thing, right? And there's a lot of people that don't learn by experience at all. I think nobody has learned algebra by experience. Okay? They learned from a book that was written by a dude who like, he experienced, he figured it out, right? He did the actual work. And so going back to the whole experience versus knowledge, in the martial arts setting, you have a lot of people who are completely ignorant of just martial arts, let alone the experience or the knowledge within martial arts. So it's crazy that people think that they can recognize a thing that they have never seen, right? you just can't do that. You can't, like I said before, you can't defend against something if you don't know what that something is. You can't recognize something if you've never seen it before, right? You might have a general description of what it is, hence told to teach, but you don't know what it is because you've never actually seen it. All right, so theoretically, this whole inability to teach has been going on, or could have gone on, for like decades, right? It's entirely possible because nobody knows what they're doing, right? And so that's the thing you need to kind of like recognize, is that some people have this incredible inability to recognize a thing they've never seen before, and they falsely attribute experiencing one thing to something else that they can like visually see. Like it's kind of baffling to think that like people who've done mixed martial arts, they have this record of like 4-0, and they're like super experienced, and we should put a whole lot of emphasis on that number that we kind of understand. But when you actually think about it, it's like, hey, they might have spent like 30 seconds in the cage for one of those fights. I mean, they might have had less time combined from all the fights, professional and amateur, than like an hour. It's just like, when you think of the Malcolm Gladwell rule that excellence requires 10,000 hours, all right, of practice, then this experience is actually very small. All right, you can still know the game. They're still knowledgeable, still really good, but whether or not they're actually really experienced and like a master of like even cage fighting is a myth. Like there's probably very few people, if not nobody, who's had 10,000 hours of being in the cage, because that's a lot of trauma on the human body, man. It doesn't happen. Now, in other areas that are of no contact, like basketball, you can actually be playing basketball from middle school all the way up to professional. So you have guys who have put in the 10,000 hours of like being on the court and actually playing a game outside of practicing. So it's a totally different thing as far as what has been or what they've spent time doing, right, working that situation, the experience of actually teaching, versus like the knowledge that, hey, this is a thing that needs to be done kind of deal. So you would have both of those, and the thing is, I think that most people really deserve better, right? And the thing is that most people who are instructors have no idea that they could be better because they've never seen better, right? They're just doing what they're told, right? And so now that you know about that, you know, again, it's better than nothing, not bad, just could be better than it is, right? And I want the best for you. That being said, you can check out my videos on the dragonmethod.com, where I have video tutorials on all things about not just teaching martial arts, but all kinds of different martial arts, right? From like standing to weapons to groundwork, you name it, got all kinds of stuff there. I do it a lot. Okay, that's the thing. I've been doing this a lot, over 5,700 teaching hours spent actually doing this skill, right? And so I have videos on my YouTube channel, tkfmma. Also happens to be the name for my Facebook pages, my Twitter account, and my Instagram account, and my website even, tkfmma. Alright, so keep that in mind, dragonmethod.com, tkfmma. Got lots of stuff, trying to get as much knowledge and information to you to make you the best you possible. Alright, that's what I want, man. Anyways, make sure to like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff, and tune in all the time, because I'm putting new videos out like on a weekly basis, man. Not just this, Dragon 3, but like everywhere. And, Dragon Method, I got a lot of Dragon stuff. So, anyways, hope you learned something, and yeah, I will talk to you later. Alright.